There have been many games played under the title the NFL. In fact, in total, a whopping 15,000 plus regular season NFL games have been played throughout its history. Within those thousands of games, there have been some legendary games along with its fair share of lackluster ones sprinkled in. Many people can recount their favorite games, but not many people can recount the bad ones. And sure, there are some memorable bad games like the butt fumble game on Thanksgiving or that wild card matchup in 2015 with the Cardinals versus the Panthers. There are quite a bit of bad games in the NFL people can remember, but which one is the worst? With the sheer amount of games played, that task is almost impossible, as the idea of what a bad game is varies with different people. Some believe a blowout is considered a bad game, while others believe that low-scoring games are considered the worst kind of game. Also, people tend to point out that the 6-6 Seahawks/Cardinals tie was the worst game, or some people say that the 2007 game with the Miami Dolphins and the Pittsburgh Steelers bad weather game was the worst. Although I do find those games to be boring to watch, I believe to find the most incompetent game, we need to go back 21 years ago to a game less known by many. To be more specific, let's go to week 6 of the 1998 season. It's the Raiders versus the Chargers. And in today's video, I present to you all the worst NFL game ever. Now, before we start with the video, I just want to give a quick heads up that the NFL did cover highlights of this game on their NFL Throwback channel. If you guys just want to see the full highlights without any comments on it, then I have a link in the description for the full highlights of the game. I just wanted to mention that so it doesn't look like I'm purposely copying them. So with that, if you happen to like this video, then drop a like and comment down below on what you think is what the worst game is. And if you are a new viewer, then consider subscribing to the channel, as I post all things NFL weekly and you don't want to miss out. And if you do, also make sure to turn on post notifications on so you know when it comes out. Now let's move on. Now that we are done with that, I want to give an idea on how bad this particular game was. Let's start with some basic information. There are a total of 4 QBs playing in this game. Those players being Ryan Leaf, Craig Wheelahan, Donald Hollis, and Wade Wilson. And only one of these QBs threw for more than 100 yards, that being Donald Hollis, who threw for 101 yards. So there you go. The second thing I want to mention, and I find this very funny, is that these 4 players threw a combined total of 1 touchdown pass, 26 completions out of 66 attempts, and 5 interceptions. Now that is pretty horrible, but it does not stop there. Both Raiders and Chargers did not reach 200 in offense, and the Raiders got 159 offensive yards and the Chargers had 195 total yards. Also, this game holds the record for the most punts in one game with 21. Now that you have an idea on how bad this offense is on both sides here, let's talk about each team battling in this so-called contest, starting with the home team, the Raiders, who at this time are 3-2 and in kind of a bad situation as their number 1 quarterback Jeff George goes down with an injury a week prior, and the new starter was named Donald Hollis, who at this point trying to make his last stand in the NFL. Hollis was drafted in the 1991 draft by the Cincinnati Bengals in the 4th round. Hollis played at Rice University, and his first rookie season he started 1 game and appeared in 8, in which he threw for 1 touchdown and 4 interceptions. In this game with the Bengals, Hollis only started 1 other time, and that was in his sophomore season. Hollis ends up leaving the Bengals in 1994 and fell off the map until today in this game, where he was picked up in free agency by the Raiders, and this will be his first start in any NFL game since 1992. So that already does not look good for the Raiders here. But looking at what happened for the Raiders previously, it's kind of impressive as they started the season rough, as they were 1-2. However, the Raiders managed to squeeze by the next 2 weeks with wins, and at this point in time are on a 2-game winning streak and are hoping to keep that alive. But the Raiders are actually looking up from last season as they went 4-12 in 1997 and used their first round pick on cornerback Charles Woodson, so things are looking good for the Raiders. Now, I can't really say the same for the Chargers here. The Chargers at this point were 2-3 in the week 6 matchup, but in the beginning the Chargers have high hopes. After a disappointing 1997 season, the Chargers used their draft pick to get quarterback Ryan Leaf. Now, I know a lot of people knock the Chargers for that pick, and yes, it should be, but there was one point where people considered Ryan Leaf to be better than Peyton Manning, so it's hard to call, but a bad one in hindsight, a very bad one. The Chargers started the season off the opposite as the Raiders at their 2-1. However, with very bad offensive play, bumped the Chargers down to a 2-3 record up to this point, the week 6 matchup. There are also some notable players playing today, including Charles Woodson, Hall of Fame receiver Tim Brown, along with William Fuller, Desmond Howard, Rodney Harrison, John Carney, and Eric Allen. So this game is not lack stars. So why was this game considered to be the worst NFL game? Well, let's watch this game, shall we? Here we go. First quarter. Now, in the beginning of the game, it starts out pretty normal. Donald Hollis of the Raiders is throwing pretty good on his first drive. However, due to a stop on the run, the Raiders are forced to punt here. The Chargers end up going 3 and out and punt the ball as well. Now, I want you to remember the names of these punters: Leo Aragus and Darren Bennett, as these guys break records, everybody. So at this point, we are at the 7-minute mark in the first quarter, and the first mistake happens when Donald Hollis fumbled the football. However, he was able to recover it, but in the process took a sack. This had no real effect on Hollis at this point, as he completes 2 big passes to go back to first down. The commentators of this game start to share their some respect to Hollis, as he is doing pretty good so far. That respect is quickly lost with just under the 5-minute mark in the first quarter, as Hollis throws an interception to Rodney Harrison, letting the Chargers have the ball with good field position. The Chargers getting the ball back actually start off pretty good, as in 3rd down and 8, Ryan Leaf throws a 12-yard pass to running back Natron Means off to the screen. Now, the Chargers are on the Raiders 20 and ready to capitalize, but this is Ryan Leaf, so what do you think he'll do? A. Throw it out of bounds. B. Chuck it downfield. C. Throw a pick. Or D. Take a sack. Well, if you guys see, then you are correct, as Leaf throws the dumbest interception you and I have ever seen, letting the Raiders have the ball on their 33. The Raiders, besides almost turning it over on 3rd down, don't really do much here and end up punting the ball to the Chargers, as the Chargers also end up going 3 and out and putting the ball deep in their territory. This allows Oakland to have great field position in Chargers territory. This marks the end of the first quarter, and the score at this point is 0-0. Second quarter. Now, here is when the game starts to get a little ugly. The first play of the second quarter ends up with Hollis getting sacked and putting the Raiders offense at their own 45-yard line. On 2nd down, Hollis tries to force the ball in the double coverage, which almost caused his 2nd interception, but it was dropped. On 3rd down, Hollis throws a pass to the flat to Napoleon Kaufman, who ends up dropping it, and the Raiders end up punting. Chargers just go 3 and out again and once again punt. The Raiders also go 3 and out, and they once again punt. Now, here we are, a little over 12 minutes in the second quarter, and the first big wow play happens as the Chargers get a big punt return, which manages to put the Chargers deep into Raider territory. So there you go, a good play. So after a Ryan Leaf sack and a 2-yard run, the Chargers finally scored the first points on the board, which was a John Carney field goal with just over 10 minutes in the second quarter, and the score is 3-0. The Raiders attempt to do the same thing and actually have a chance to make a big play on 1st down. However, the Raiders wide receiver James Jett dropped the ball when he was wide open, and this was a huge drop considering the fact that the Raiders did not actually score at this point. They really needed this play here. On 3rd down and 10, the Raiders have another dropped catch and they are forced to punt. Now, for a lot of this quarter, it's just back and forth of just bad quarterback play. Donald Hollis has 9 straight incompletions, and Ryan Leaf is moving the Chargers offense, so it's just multiple punts as well. Nothing really kicks up until a little over 2-minute warning in the second quarter, where Donald Hollis gets 3 straight completions going. 2 were to Tim Brown. However, due to a drop pass and a bad reflection, the Raiders have to punt the ball for the 7th time in this game, and it's not even half. Now, this is a great thing here. Now, there is about 6 seconds on the clock until halftime, and the Chargers spent the whole time trying to argue about a play, and during that time deciding what play to run, the clock expired and halftime started. I just found that pretty funny and just kind of metaphorically represents the game as a whole, and a great way to end off a half. Third quarter. Chargers start with the ball and do nothing with it, so they punt. The Raiders get the ball and they also do nothing with it again, and for the 8th time, they punt the ball. The Chargers get the ball, and with it, they almost gave it back to the Raiders, but luckily a Charger falls on it. Only for the very next play, Leaf gets sacked and then later punts the ball again. Now, at this point in the game, the Chargers punted the ball 7 times. That's a lot, but don't you worry, Charger fans, because the Raiders basically do the same thing, take a sack, and punt the ball away back to the Chargers. Now, here is a quick thing I want to point out here, and that is the starting running back for the Chargers, and that is Natron Means. About halfway in the quarter, Means has totaled 93 yards so far, 93 yards total, and that is pretty good, but the whole Charger offense, excluding Means, is a grand total of 23 yards. Yes, that is pretty awful. So essentially, one running back is amassing more yards than the entire offense at this point. That's completely dreadful. So the Chargers need to do something here in order to capitalize on their lead. So Ryan Leaf hikes the ball, sets a play action, and what does he do? Well, let's find out. Will he A, get sacked, B, throw it to a wide open receiver, C, throw it out of bounds, or D, throw a pick? Took your guess? If you said D, you are correct. Congratulations. Ryan Leaf throws an interception to Eric Allen, but it's kind of funny on this play because the wide receiver Dexter Slaughter had Eric Allen beat, like pretty bad, like a couple of steps ahead of Allen, but Leaf underthrew it, which caused the interception. So now the Raiders have controlled the ball, and Donald Hollis throws two of the worst passes I've ever seen in a while. Along with a bad run, they punt the ball for the 10th time. The Chargers do the same, and they punt the ball for the 8th time. Now, let's have a quick look at Hollis' stats, shall we? He has, at this point in the game, completed 9 passes out of 26 for 84 yards, no touchdowns, and 1 interception. That is just pathetic, but let's move on. The Raiders actually complete a pass. However, they were short and forced to punt for the 11th time. Now, the Raiders punter Leo Aragus actually ties the franchise record for the most punts in one game, but the game is not over yet. Let's continue. Ryan Leaf throws a horrible pass that went absolutely nowhere, which makes the Chargers punt for the 9th time, which is kind of funny. And what's even more funny is that the Raiders also go 3 and out, and they punt for the 12th time. At this point, Leo Aragus holds the record for the most punts in one game in their franchise history. But don't worry, the horror does not stop there. Ryan Leaf literally does the exact same mistake to the exact same receiver, Dexter Slaughter, and yes, he is underthrown and marks Ryan Leaf's 3rd interception of the day, and it was picked off by Marquise Walker. Now, the Raiders defense should get right back on the field because the offense ends up punting the ball for the 13th time. Also, Ryan Leaf is benched for the 2nd string Craig Wheelahan. 4th quarter. Chargers go 3 and out and end up punting the ball again for the 10th time. It's just kind of sad at this point. The Raiders don't do much offense here as Hollis is sacked by William Fuller, who actually got his 100th sack in that game, so that's good, I guess. Now, I know this is getting old, but the Raiders don't do anything with the ball and they end up punting again for the 14th time. Now, the Chargers have a new quarterback in which is Craig Wheelahan, who is taking the spot of Ryan Leaf, but the Leaf effect might have been lingering on the field because the first pass he threw was an interception. Now, the Raiders also make a change here as Donald Hollis is benched for Wade Wilson, which is not a huge improvement as he goes 3 and out and takes the 15th punt, which is tied for an NFL record. And at this point, this game is completely boring, a crap fest to say the least. But with 3 minutes left in the game, the Chargers start to drive down the field courtesy of Natron Means, which allows the Chargers to make a 48-yard John Carney field goal, making the score 6-0 Chargers. Now, if you were a Chargers fan, you should be ecstatic right now because the Raiders have not scored at all during this game and has not even gotten close to doing so. What's really the worst that can happen, right? Well, what can this Wade Wilson do? Let's see. First play, incomplete pass. Second play, he is sacked, and if you look down the field, Tim Brown was wide open, but you win some, you lose some. Third play, incomplete pass, and the Raiders are forced to punt again, and Leo Aragus holds the record for the most punts in one game, and if that does not show how bad an offense is, then I don't know. Well, at this point, 16 punts. Now, at this point, the Raiders, like they were doing all game, need to step it up here and stop the Chargers offense, so the Raiders offense can get back on the field. And of course, they stop them, and the Chargers punt the ball off with 1 minute and 55 seconds left in the game. Now, if you're still convinced that this game is not the worst game in NFL history, then let's have a look at the stat for the Oakland Raiders. At this point in the game, they have converted 1 first down out of 18 attempts, and they have not converted 1 first down. In fact, they only have 4 yards of offense in the whole second half so far, which is nuts. But with just over 1 minute and 30 seconds left on the clock, the Raiders finally do something. They end up scoring a touchdown, taking the lead for the first time, and the score now is 7-6 with 1 minute and 28 seconds left in the game. So the Chargers actually start to make a solid drive down the field until a 4th and 7 play where Craig Wheelahan dumps the ball off to Natron Means, who runs all the way down to the marker, and at first it was considered a first down. However, after further review, the call was overturned as they were short of the first down. The Raiders kneel, and the monstrosity finally comes to an end. So in total, there were 27 punts, which is to this day an NFL record. And in total punt yards, it comes out to be 1,237 yards. All of that in one game is insane. Now, let me drop a little stat for the 2nd string QBs for both teams. Let's start with Wade Wilson of the Raiders. In total, Wade Wilson has completed 1 pass out of 7 attempts for 68 yards and a touchdown. As for Craig Wheelahan, he was 3 for 6 for 19 yards, no touchdowns, and 1 interception. As for the starting QBs, it goes as the following. Donald Hollis, he was 12 for 35 for 101 yards, no touchdowns, and 1 interception. And for Ryan Leaf, he was 7 for 18 for 78 passing yards, no touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. Overall, this game was a mess to say the least, and I don't see any games topping this one anytime soon. So there you go. This is my take on the worst NFL game in NFL history. Alright everybody, that marks the end of this video. If you haven't liked this video, then of course drop a like, and if you want to see the game in its entirety, I have a link in the description of the full game highlights, so you can go check it out. And if you are new, then consider subscribing to the channel, as that would be much appreciated, and I will see you guys next time. Have a great day.